Well, Tom, my brother Tom, of course, you knew the story about him wanting to enlist in the service and being rejected because he was underage. So he took a piece of paper and he wrote the number 18 on it and put it in his shoes. So when the recruiter asked him if he was over 18, he was able to say yes. And he joined the 22nd Ohio Infantry. He spent a great deal of time in the Western Theater. In fact, at one point he was a bodyguard for Ulysses Grant. But by October of 1864, when I had taken command of the 3rd Cavalry Division, I was able to get him transferred to my staff. And he proved himself probably such that he should have been the general and I the captain in his audaciousness, particularly at Nabazine Church, where he captured a battle flag, and then 4 days later at Sailor's Creek, where he even received a wound when he captured a 2nd battle flag, and for that he became the first man in history to be a double Medal of Honor winner. But Tom got an appointment to the 7th Cavalry after the war, and we spent time being stationed in Kentucky. He was in South Carolina, Union City, South Carolina, putting down moonshiners and Ku Klux Klanners and Knights of the White Camellia. Quite frankly, I was remiss, maybe because I didn't want people to think I was playing favorites, that I didn't put him in a position to lead charges into the opponents towards the end of the war, or when we came to the frontier, because if he was given an order, he never wavered on that. He carried it through. I think so much so that people who thought I was playing favorites, I actually saw that I was stricter with Tom than I was any other officer in the regiment.
Confederate shot him in the face. He almost gets knocked out of his saddle. He rises up. He shoots the Confederate in his face, kills him, takes his flag. He's bleeding like profusely. The bullet went through his right side of his right under his eye, and it came out below his ear. And he came back with the flag, and he gave it to the guys. And he tells Custer, "I'm going back in." He goes, "No, you're not." He's like, No, there's more Rebs. And he's like, and Custer had him arrested.
At the same time that Custer was making a name for himself, officers who would later serve under him during the Indian Wars were also carving out a few reputations of their own. Frederick Benteen participated in the battles Wilson's Creek, Pea Ridge, Vicksburg, and Westport. His soldiers captured John Sabington Marmaduke at the Battle of Mine Creek when the Confederate general was confused by the uniforms and accidentally went to rally the wrong soldiers. Benteen and the Union forces were greatly outnumbered, but won all 3 engagements of Mine Creek, forcing Sterling Price out of Missouri. James Harrison Wilson was Benteen's favorite commander. He trained Sherman's cavalry for the March to the Sea and dealt crushing defeats to Nathan Bedford Forrest. His men would eventually capture Jefferson Davis.
Yeah, and that was his finest hour, was the work he did against Forrest. Of course, Forrest was a professional soldier, but Wilson certainly was able to take advantage of that and really embarrassed Forrest badly in that last campaign. I mean, they say Forrest was outnumbered, and somewhat he was, but he was deep in his own territory, and it was similar numbers he'd fought against before and won, but Wilson outsmarted him that entire campaign, did an excellent job. But Wilson was a second-tier officer. I think he was better. I think he was a first-tier manager and a second-tier tactician, operational leader, but he was good enough to beat Forrest.
Yeah, the Civil War soldiers, they called it partisans or guerrilla war. In the East, you had the most famous partisan, of course, of the Civil War was John Mosby in Virginia. And he was so successful that a portion of Virginia was actually called Mosby's Confederacy, because he could pretty much operate as he wished in a certain part near Warrenton and in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. And then Forrest was a straight-up field commander that used completely off-the-books methods of fighting. He wasn't trained at West Point like every other general in the Civil War. Forrest was self-trained, self-made. So he didn't go by any rules. He didn't worry about Hardee's tactics. Forrest went in there and figured out how to win battles.
Miles Keogh was rescued from a prison in Italy to fight in the Union Army of the Civil War. Under James Shields, they made a hot pursuit of Stonewall Jackson through the Shenandoah Valley and nearly captured him at the Battle of Port Republic. Keogh would be reassigned to John Buford along with his friend Joseph O'Keefe, who had also served in the Papal War. The two Irish soldiers would follow Buford from Brandy Station to Gettysburg, and Keogh was at the side of Buford's deathbed for the last hours of his life when he was dying of typhoid.
In 1860, the Pope was fighting Garibaldi over in Italy. Garibaldi was trying to unify Italy, and the Pope was trying to hold on to his property, and the details of that are massively confusing. But in any case, the Pope asked for young Irish guys to come fight in the Papal Army, and Keogh had been reading, soldier stories all his life, notably Charles O'Malley, the Irish Dragoon, which I actually have a copy of. So anyway, he'd always, planned on being a soldier when he grew up, and now he's 20 years old, and the Pope wants him to come fight. Oh, he's a good Catholic. He runs off to Italy. They lasted about 3 months, got captured. Pope was defeated. Keogh and his buddies became papal guards. They found this boring. The Bishop of New York arrived, sent by William Seward to recruit young Irishmen for the Union Army. Oh, what a good idea, they say, and head over and join the Union Army, and that's how Keogh got here.